Hello YouTube! Today we're going to talk about a great French appellation, unique and outstanding, not just by the quality of its wines, but also because it's the only AOC in France to allow 13 different grape varieties in its blend, and the only village to have resting areas for tired wine tasters. True story. Today we're going to talk about Louis XV, about UFOs, and about the recipe of curry. We're going to talk about Châteauneuf-du-Pape, and to discover this famous appellation, we'll be tasting one of its historical crus, Château La Nerthe, vintage 2015. The vineyards of Châteauneuf-du-Pape are located in the southern Rhône valley close to Avignon, between the Alps and the Massif Central, not far from the Mont Ventoux, famous amongst Tour de France lovers. The appellation covers 3,200 hectares, divided between more than 300 owners and dedicated almost exclusively to red wines. When I talk about an historical cru, it isn't a figure of speech. It is mentioned in the archives as early as 1560, and the building of the castle itself started in 1736 under the reign of Louis XV. The wine started to be exported in the 18th century, first in Europe and then in the US. In the 19th century, La Nerthe was already named by Alexandre Dumas, the author of the Three Musketeers, as one of the greatest French wines. In 1893, the estate is acquired by Joseph Ducos, who will replant it and thus determine the blend ideal for the wines, a blend that will inspire the creation of the Châteauneuf-du-Pape AOC, the first one in France in 1936. During World War II, the estate is occupied and even bombed, but fortunately the castle itself is spared and can still be visited today. In 1954, as UFO sightings were trendy, the mayor had the idea of writing an eccentric decree forbidding the landing of all unidentified flying objects in the village. The joke turned out to be a great publicity stunt, and the decree is still in effect today. The climate in Châteauneuf-du-Pape is Mediterranean, warm and the driest in all the Côte-du-Rhône, with most rain pouring in winter. But above all, it is very windy, with the famous Mistral, a powerful northerly wind that has already been measured at more than 300 km per hour. The Mistral refreshes and dries up the air, limiting the development of vine fungal diseases and concentrating the berries. This Mediterranean and windy climate yields wines with a warming alcohol and mild acid. The estate manages 92 hectares, divided in 57 plots, spreading across the whole AOC on all types of soils. If the appellation's terroir is justly associated with the famous round pebbles, limestone, clay and sand can also be found. All these rocks came from the Alps and were carried over by the Rhône and deposited as alluvium in Châteauneuf-du-Pape. This creates a patchwork of soils, which explains why the many cultivars of the AOC can find a hangout and reach ideal maturity. 13 varieties are allowed, mainly trained as bush vines, a short pruning that shades the berries to avoid sunburn. The vines are planted in low density due to the climate's dryness, and the yields per hectare are amongst the lowest in France. At La Nerthe, this kind of viticulture gives greatly concentrated wines, yet without looking for overripeness or cooked fruit flavors. 13 varieties may sound like a lot, but it doesn't jinx Châteauneuf growers at all. On the contrary, in the same way the taste of a mix of spices like curry can change completely if you add a little more cumin or a little more coriander, the addition, even in small quantities, of varieties that will bring their acidity or their texture contributes to the wine complexity and spices up a blend based on 3 key varieties: Grenache, Syrah and Mourvèdre. La Nerthe's character is primarily conveyed by Grenache, which gives its crunchy red fruit and its soft texture, supported by Syrah that brings aromatic complexity and structure. Mourvèdre enriches the blend with its black fruit, truffle and gamey notes while adding extra color and tannins. Finally, the overall blend can be fine-tuned with a touch of the other grapes, starting with Cinsault, Counoise, Vaccarès, Muscardin and Terre Noire, along with Roussanne, Bourboulin, Clairette, Picpoul and Picardin. This complex blend gives La Nerthe its aromas of red and black fruit, wild herbs, papery and gamey notes, with a subtle yet firm tannic frame and a deep ruby color. To enhance the extraction of these delicate nuances, the estate does a cold soak before fermentation. The idea is to cool the must to a low temperature for the enzymes to start working on the berries and reveal these flavors to give a juicier profile to the wine. After a 3-week fermentation, the wine goes into large stainless steel or wooden vats for an 18-month maturing to produce an expressive wine with a tight but fine structure. Vintage 2015 is marked by high daytime temperatures in summer, as well as cool nights and a lot of wind, which produced a structured and complex wine built for the table. The wine presents a deep ruby color and a very ripe and straightforward nose of strawberry and blackberry, with hints of black pepper, wild herbs and game. The palate reveals a nice and juicy fruit concentration with a finely woven tannic structure. This 2015 has a warming alcohol, mild acidity, and lingers in a long finish on myrtle, warm earth and spices. Served ideally at 18 degrees, this wine will greatly reward the patience required for slow-cooked lamb shoulder and will also shine on a roasted pigeon with porcini mushrooms or a rich moussaka. Displaying enough concentration and balance to age effortlessly for 10 years, this classic Châteauneuf-du-Pape fetches around €40. Property of the Richard family since 1985 and certified organic for over 10 years, La Nerthe also manages 50 hectares in Côte-du-Rhône and 33 in Tavel, the sole rosé-only AOC in France. In Châteauneuf, La Nerthe also produces 2 other reds, the Cuvée des Cadettes and Les Clavelles, as well as 2 whites, a rarity in the appellation, including the famous Claude Beauvenir. You will find Château La Nerthe not in the traditional Châteauneuf-du-Pape bottle, but in its own bottle, embossed with the emblem of the chateau that I invite you to discover without delay. I wish you all a very good tasting and see you soon for another video. Cheers!